Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you guys are having a good one. So today we're going to be talking more about the payment processors and the UK government's Online Safety Act. Now, there's been quite a bit of information we've gotten throughout the past couple of days, and a lot of backlash against the payment processors. And I wanted to kind of cover these in one video because to me, they're very similar in a way, right? And I'm not saying that they kind of were in cahoots with one another, but it's just kind of interesting that we're kind of seeing the government's perspective on online content as well as you know collective shout taking responsibility for the payment processors and them doing what they're doing with online content as well. But this may be a two-parter video. It just depends on how long it goes. I generally like to make my videos at least below 35 minutes long. That's just because I know I'm not very interesting, but I do think that maybe covering them both kind of give a little bit more perspective on what we're seeing play out right now. So as we know, payment processors like Visa, Mastercard, PayPal, um, there's hundreds of them, right? But they have basically banned, well, told Steam that you need to get rid of certain games, or else we'll pull our payment processors away, and that's the death sentence. That is a death sentence to them. We've seen them do this to places in Japan, which they are basically saying, "Screw you!" Now they have no right to tell what the government of Japan can and cannot do, or the people of Japan, for that matter. And yeah, in terms of governments with the Online Safety Act, there's a lot of people who are very much against this Online Safety Act, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But um, this article is from Polygon. I'm going to read this one first, and this one right here. I read this one. I tried to make this video a little earlier. This article really kind of made me mad because they are basically saying they're not going to defend everything. They just want to defend uh, the consensual stuff. Which, listen, before I begin this, I just want to make this clear. I don't agree with the stuff that is being taken down. The degenerate stuff, the grape, the All in the Family stuff, the essay stuff, those games. But the problem I have is, first of all, they're cartoons. They're not being broadcast to a broader audience in terms of streaming and stuff like that. It's something that you would buy and watch in your own home, right? And it's not depicting real people and real events, which is the most important thing to me. I could care less about the rest of the stuff. Now, would I personally buy it? No, I wouldn't personally buy it because, well, that stuff's not for me. But and it's very difficult to defend because of the topics, but at the same time, these are works of fiction. They're not real things. Now, if it was real stuff, I wouldn't even be on here talking about defending it. It would be like, no, this needs to go, right? That's the big problem. This article here, they're basically talking about this is the Game Developers Association. They are basically saying, hey, get rid of all the other stuff, but like make sure the stuff that's consensual. And they bring up marginalized communities a lot, which it's current year, okay? Knock that stuff off. It should just say communities. It's just my opinion. But they're really concerned about affecting marginalized communities. So that's pretty much it. But they did lay out some guidelines they think that should be implemented by these companies because there's not a clear boundary set. We saw or we heard. I don't know if you guys heard, but I think Asmongold covered it. But mouthwashing was removed from Steam for a little bit, and now it's back on there. But mouthwashing is a psychological horror game. I've played it. It's very, very good. It explores a lot of different themes, and one of them is, well, it's SA. And uh, it's very relevant to the story, okay? Now, it's nothing that you see happen or play out. It's just all kind of implied, right? And it's for purposes of the story. Like I said before, like Berserk, the things that happen to Casca, it's relevant to the story because it kind of makes you see the implications of what Griffith has brought upon the world, and what his true motives are. And it changes your perspective on Griffith completely, right? He gives up his humanity. He gives up his family to achieve his goal, right? And if you haven't read Berserk, I highly encourage it because it's really, really good. But another thing, too, that we're going to get into is we're going to talk about other books with sexual content in them, because I think it's very relevant to talk about, because when it comes to movies and video games, they have ratings. And I don't think books do. At least this book doesn't. And this book is very, very sexually explicit, okay? And we're going to read a couple of pages, maybe. It depends. I might skim through and just kind of read whatever I see. But what book I'm talking about is Icebreakers, okay? And we'll read a little bit from that here in a little bit. But this is basically what they're calling for. This was written by, what's his name? Andy Chalk, and this was from PC Gamer. Now, to get on to Visa and MasterCard are getting overwhelmed by gamer fury over censorship. Gamers are sending mass emails and phone calls to major payment processors in protest against Steam and itch.io. Good. That needs to happen. This was written by Patricia Hernandez, and it says, in the wake of storefronts like Steam and itch.io curbing the sale of adult video games, irate fans have started an organized campaign against the payment processors that they likely believe are responsible for the crackdown. While the movement is still in its early stages, people are mobilizing with an eye towards overwhelming communication lines in companies like Visa and MasterCard in a way that will make the concern impossible to ignore, kind of what Collective Shout did. And this is the thing. The only way you can fight these people is fire with fire, okay? Because that's never going to stop. They're going to keep going. I think I said it in my other video. I don't know if I did or not, but the people like Collective Shout, they're kind of like, the way they operate is like the Hydra, right? You cut off its head and more grow. It will never end. And what they always end up doing is they do a mass campaign towards a company, right? Oh, you're selling so-and-so's merchandise and he's done X, Y, and Z, or he said X, Y, and Z, or you're allowing the sale of this, and it's depicting harm against women and girls in this way, right? And they keep doing it. So it's good to see that there's some backlash against this. And by the way, this is from Polygon. This is from Polygon. By the way, sorry, my wife texted me, and it said it continues on social media sites like Reddit and Blue Sky. I don't know why they talk about Blue Sky, because I feel like Blue Sky is kind of dying. But people are urging one another to get into contact with Visa and MasterCard through emails and phone calls. Visa and MasterCard have become targets of interest because of the affected storefronts. Well, because they're the biggest ones. Again, when you look at PayPal and you look at these other companies, other payment processors, at least from what I remember, and I could be wrong about this, please correct me if I am, but you could put your bank account on there, or you can put your credit card, which would be a Visa or MasterCard on there. So effectively, Visa and MasterCard are in everything that we do with everything. You go to a bank, what do they give you? They give you a Visa or a MasterCard. I don't think you get Discover cards anymore. It's Visa or Master. And these companies are the ones that are basically the arbiters of what you can and cannot do. They become targets of interest because of the effective storefronts. Both say that their decisions around adult games were motivated by the danger of losing the ability to use major payment processors while selling games. These payment processors have their own rules regarding usage, but they are vaguely defined. But losing infrastructure like this could impact audiences well beyond who cared about adult games, spokespeople for Valve and itch.io said. In a now deleted post on Steam Steam subreddit with over 17,000 upvotes, commenters say that the customer service representative for both payment processors seem to already be aware of the problem. Sometimes the representatives, will say that they have gotten multiple calls on the subject of the adult games censorship, but that they can't really do anything about it. well, you did something about it the first time when it was against or for the censorship. The folks applying pressure know that someone at the call center has limited power. It's like a scenario like this one. Typically, agents are equipped to handle standard customer issues like payment fraud or credit card loss. But the point isn't to enact change through the specific phone call. It's to cause enough disruption or ruckus theoretically starts costing payment processors money. Um, Emails can be ignored, but a very long queue, making it near impossible for other clients to get in, will help a lot as well. Yeah, it's going to be annoying. It's going to be very annoying, but it is pretty necessary for something like this if you want to make your voice heard. Because I think with Collective Shout, I think that they said that was like 1,062 people or something um, that called in or whatever. Um, but let's see. People said that they are hanging onto the calls, even if the operator says that they'll experience a multi-hour wait time, presumably caused by similar calls skunking up the lines. Beyond the stubbornness factor, the tactic is motivated by the knowledge that most customers' service systems will put people on who opt for callbacks on a lower priority queue. As anyone who opts in likely doesn't have an emergency going on. Do both. One commenter suggests get the call back to gum up the call queue, and then call again and wait for the to gum up the live queue. People are also using email to voice their concerns directly to the executives at both Visa and Mastercard payment processors. That activist group Collective Shout called out by name in their open letter requesting that adult games get pulled. Emails are also getting sent to customer service in light of the coordinates efforts. This is where we get the statement from Visa, okay? The statement is, as a quote, "Thank you for reaching out and sharing your perspective. As a global company, we follow the laws and regulations everywhere we do business. While we explicitly prohibit illegal activity on our network, we are equally committed in protecting legal commerce. If a transaction is legal, our policy is to process the transaction. We do not make moral judgments on legal purchases made by consumers. Visa does not moderate content sold by merchants, nor do we have visibility into the specific goods or services sold when sold when we process for a transaction. When a legally operating merchant faces an elevated risk of illegal activity, we require enhanced safeguards for the banks supporting those merchants. For more information on Visa's policies, yada, yada, yada. On Blue Sky, resources are being shared to help people know. Okay, so this is basically somebody tweeted out the phone numbers or whatever it is at Blue Sky, right? But they posted the phone numbers and emails for Visa and Mastercard. And through it all, gamers are telling one another to remain cordial. Yeah, that's important. Don't be rude. Don't be hateful. Always be cordial with your interactions. With payment processors, especially when dealing with low-level workers who are just trying to do their job. For executives, the purpose of maintaining a considerate tone is to help people in power take the issue seriously. That's all we're going to read from this article here. But here's the information on Collective Shout. Collective Shout claims that it only petitioned itch.io to pull games with violence and torture against women, but allegedly the storefront made its own decision to censor not safe for content site-wide rather. At current, itch.io has de-indexed games with adult themes, meaning that these games are not viewable on their search pages. Yeah, Collective Shout, I'm pretty sure they also took credit for Steam as well. Yeah, that's pretty much the information there. Now, to go further, we're going to be talking about. Actually, let's read some icebreakers, shall we? Now, this book, I said earlier, there are no ESRB ratings for books. There are no rated G or whatever it is for movies to R for books. Books can be bought by anybody, I believe. I don't think you need a parent to buy a book like Icebreakers. In Icebreakers, there is no kind of um, warning on the book. Now, there might have been on the plastic if it came in a plastic cover. Someone got this for my wife. But let's see. We are going to talk about a couple things that are happening in this book. Uh, so viewer discretion is advised. Our mouths, this is from page 133. Our mouths smash into each other in a crazed, drunk, and desperate display of built-up sexual frustration. Gripping the back of my thighs, he lifts me, letting my legs wind around his waist. My hands sink into his hair as our bodies work in unison to get close to each other as possible. There's nothing romantic about what's happening. My body is sandwiched between his and the door. Our tongues fight for dominance. On his hand, and his hands sink into my butt cheeks. It's the other word for butt, but a tortured whimper escapes me when he grinds his pelvis into me, and I feel how hard he is. Now, this book, it's going to continue, okay? This book can be bought by anybody, okay? And online, it says that this book is for 14 to 22-year-olds, something like that. Yeah, you can look it up. I might put up a picture to show you. Trailing his mouth along my jawline, he nibbles at the spot beneath my ear, making my whole body quiver. Tell me you want me to fuck you, Anastasia. You tell me. My hard words lose their impact when he sucks on my neck, and I literally moan. Before I know what's happening, he sets me down on the edge of the bed and crouches to my feet, taking off my shoes. How nice. What a gentleman. It amazes me how he can switch from rough to gentle in seconds. When my shoes are off, I tuck my feet beneath his ass and watch him stand. There's a small moment in quiet where we just look at each other. My heart is still hammering, blood burning beneath my skin, everything hypersensitive. So this stuff is, if I were to read all of this on YouTube, if I was monetized, I would definitely get demonetized, right? But let's see. Let's see. Okay, we'll read this one. He looks confused but curious, eyes narrowing as he walks to the end of the bed. My fingers slip below the material of my panties, shimmying down my leg. His eyes widen when he realizes what I'm doing. He then leans forward to grip the bed frame. I have to watch what I say. Okay. Um, this is the mouth scene right here. Let me come back to that. Let's see. He bends down and kisses me on the forehead. Tell me to stop if I'm too rough, okay? One hand holds the back of my neck, and the other guides his blank toward me. Stick your tongue out, baby. I do as I'm told, much to his immediate delight, swirling against the blank, tasting the blank on my tongue. That's a good girl. I wrap my lips around the blank and blink gently. His hand leaves my neck and immediately sinks to my hair. Fuck, Stace! He moans loudly. Just like that, I lose my ability to wait for orders. So it's stuff like this, right? I spread my legs as wide as they'll go, giving him the perfect view of how wet. That way, he'll have no problem watching me use two fingers. The slick, wet sound of the only noise in the room. Jesus Christ from him. His blank is ready. Okay, yeah. So you get the idea, right? You get the idea. And this book, again, there's no ratings for these books. Um, they anyone can buy them. Anyone can buy that book. Your child could buy that book at 14 and read that stuff. Let's see. You do not have to be a certain age to purchase icebreakers. I was talking about the gum. But there is no age limit to buy that book. I believe. I think it's everyone can buy that book. But you don't see Barnes and Noble or Amazon getting threatened with payment processors for selling stuff like that, because it's consensual, right? But it's also not limited towards who they can sell to. So that's kind of the point that I'm making there. But moving on, we're going to be talking about the British and their online safety act, and I want to talk about this again because there's a couple of interesting things. Now, one of the things I said in one of my videos was, where does the buck stop with this safety stuff, right? Is it just to get rid of the sexually explicit games, or is it going further than that? And there's one person on X who recorded this, and I don't think my audio is shared, so let me restart the video. All right, got my handy dandy headphones on. Sorry about that, folks. I would have been really mad if I played this and went on through with the video, but let's go ahead and take a listen. So, Barry Gardner, Labour MP, finally admits that the online safety bill is to stop adults' free speech that they do not like. Okay, this is from someone named Bernie, the Artemis for now on Twitter or X. We're going to go ahead and play this clip, okay?
Online safety bill. If it's just about children, is it just about children, or does it focus on adults?
That should be an elite squad.
Barry, does it just focus?
To protect 13-year-old
I'm sorry,
girls?
the elite squad is not about children. Actually, shall I read you the thing?
The elite squad is the squad that they put together to censor this online stuff. And keep in mind, he did say, do you not think that they protect girls, right?
An elite squad of police officers is to monitor social media for anti-migrant sentiment. I don't think 13-year-olds are engaging that. So is it also to monitor adults? Simple question, yes or no?
Yes, of course it will.
Okay, there we go. Look, sorry.
Yes, of course it would. Of course it would. See? So where does it end? And again, it's under the guise of this, right? It's under the guise of wanting to get rid of, so in this case, right, it's under the guise of protecting children from these sites. But there's more to it, right? And where does it end? You gave up a lot of freedoms already with your speech, and you're giving up a lot more. But that's that. I wanted to showcase that. But there's already been a petition here. Over 340,000 Brits want to repeal the UK Online Safety Act. Here's how to have your say. Okay, this is from techradar.com, and it says, a petition to repeal the UK Online Safety Act has garnered over 340,000 signatures in just a few days after strict new age verification requirements come into force. This was also written by Chiara Castro, okay? Sorry about that. This is written by Chiara Castro. Starting from Friday on July 25th, 2025, all platforms displaying adult content must verify that their users are over the age of 18. We've already talked about this. These requirements have sparked concerns among politicians, digital rights experts, and technologists who fear that invasive ID checks could lead to data breaches, surveillance, and free speech limitations. Well, UK has no problem stifling free speech, so that's okay. We believe that the scope of the Online Safety Act is far broader and restrictive than is necessary in a free society. Reads a petition created by Alex Bainham. You're going to jail, Alex. A Londoner who launched a new independent party, Build in December of last year. We think that the Parliament should repeal the Act and work towards producing proportionate legislation rather than risking clamping down on civil society, talking about trains, football, video games, or even hamsters because it can't deal with individual bad faith actors. While the UK Parliament must consider for debate for any petition that gets more than 100,000 signatures, Bainham encourages anyone concerned to have their say. To do so, you should sign the petition, contact your MP, and explain the reason you are worried. The deadline is October 22nd. So it goes on to talk about the age verification, what are the risks, and how to stay safe. The new rules certainly come as a way to stop children from accessing inappropriate and dangerous content online. Yet age checks also come with significant risk for other people's privacy, security, and other rights like free speech and access to information. You now need to be ready to scan your face, your credit card, or ID documents if you want to access some content on X, Reddit, or Blue Sky in the UK. The same goes if you want to play a new over 18 video game, find a new match on a dating app, or watch a video reserved for adults only. So already I can see this being a huge problem, right? You need to be ready to scan your face, your credit card, your ID documents if you want to access these things. So think about it in a political sphere. If you want to start protesting something, it's essentially the government has this information on you that can blackmail you. Well, you played this game that had All in the Family stuff. Are you a degenerate? You know, you made this post on X saying this about this. Like, are you a bigot? You know, it's kind of stuff that's been kind of going on behind the scenes, but now they want to make it law. Remember back in the days with pretty recently the Me Too movement and stuff like that, and the BLM movement, where like if anybody was to found out that they said something racist or bigoted or something like that in their past, their employer fired them. This is something similar to that, right? Only they're going to have the governmental receipts, right? And who's to say that the governments aren't going to be hacked and their citizens' information is going to be put out there? I mean, you're putting credit card info out there, your ID, your face scan, you know. Who's to say that stuff's not going to happen? We saw that with the T app. All those women that got hacked, all their information leaked. Who's to say that's not going to happen here? Because the government does get hacked. This involves you trusting the service providers to take good care of highly sensitive data, something that, as the recent T app hack shows, isn't always possible. A data breach of this magnitude could expose millions of Brits to identity stolen, fraud, and other dangers. Similarly, I can never say that word. Similarly, some experts also argue that getting rid of online I can never say this word, anonymity, could lead to higher surveillance by leaving such data access vulnerable to abuse. Again, yes, it's taking away all that. So they're going to have you in their little list, and they're going to come after you for things that you said or that you've purchased or what you've done. And who's to say they're not going to lock your accounts, right? Experts also fear new rules could lead to higher censorship, as platforms are now required to delete or block all content defined as harmful. And another thing too, people have different perspectives of what's harmful or not. If I make fun of a furry's going to find that harmful for them, right? You know, I find furries to be degenerate. I do. And furries probably aren't going to like that. But it's their prerogative. If they want to do that, they can. I just think it's weird. But they could find that harmful speech, and I could get arrested if I lived in the UK. Despite the UK's regulator Ofcom suggesting against it, Britons have been turning to the best VPN apps en masse to avoid giving up their most precious data to access websites. Proton VPN, for example, saw a surge in signups, recording an hourly increase of over 1,400%. That's a lot, starting from Friday at midnight. Talking to Tech Radar, a Proton spokesperson said, "This clearly shows that adults are concerned about the impact universal age verification laws will have on their privacy." That's the end of the article. Again, it's Chira Castro here was responsible for this article. And I did make a mention of this in my last video, I believe, but who's to say that they're not going to ban VPNs next, right? What are they going to ban next so they can keep total control? Because if they're going to these VPN companies to get content out of British control or your country's control, who's to say that they're going to not come to these companies next? oh, well, we're going to take your payment processing away if you do not comply with our rules, our laws. And one thing that's interesting here, who the act applies to, this is from the UK Gov, the gov.uk, right? Who the act applies to. The act's duties apply to search services and services that allow users to post content online or to interact with each other. This includes a range of websites, apps, and other services, including social media services, consumer file, cloud storage and sharing sites, video sharing platforms, online forums, dating services, and online instant messaging services. The app applies to services even if the companies providing them are outside of the UK, should they have links to the UK. This includes the services that this includes if the service has a significant number of users, if the UK is the target market, or it is capable of being accessed by UK users. There is a material risk of significant harm to such users. I can totally see this including the VPN sites now. So that's pretty much all I have on this stuff. Okay. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have about this stuff. Sorry about that cut there. But let me know in the comments what you guys think about this, because again, I said it before, where does this end? Where's the buck stop? Because they're going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And we have seen a little bit of interest from the United States wanting to do something similar to this. I might cover that in another video. But in terms of the UK and these payment processors, again, where does this end? Because it's under the guise right now of this degenerate content. Okay, it's under the guise of protecting the children. Specifically, it seems like it's under the guise of protecting the girls, even though some of these countries can't define what a woman is. So where does the buck end? And we heard it from that one guy's mouth. It's also to censor adults. Of course it is, right? So that's pretty much all we have about this right now. Again, let me know in the comments what you guys think. I'm going to go ahead and go. Thank you for watching so long. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.